Hey everyone, hi. Um, it's Tracy at TierraCast, and thanks for joining us today. Um, it is a gorgeous day here. There are no fires burning in the immediate area, which is really nice. Yay! And so the sky is blue, the air is clear, leaves are falling, it's almost Halloween. So it's just a gorgeous, perfect autumn day. So we've been wanting to come online and do a video to show you guys all the new parts from our fall 2020 editions launch that we did at the beginning of the month. Um, this launch was not like one of our traditional ones. It's kind of in two parts. So the first part of the launch is we added many finishes to existing components, and the finishes have been requested by our customers. So um, those are all visible in the collections group on our website, which is it's the Fall 2020 Editions collection. Um, and so that's pretty exciting. It's a large number of parts. It's finishes that customers have requested over the years. So we're really happy to be able to add those in. Now, the second part of the launch is a small group of new parts that some are requests from customers and some are things that have just kind of been in the archives, have been things we've been working on for a long time, and we just haven't been able to fit them into a group anywhere. So we're really excited about some of these. And I'm going to switch the camera view so that we can, oh, and also later, because it says this in the title, Danielle Wickes will be joining us in a little while. When we get through going through the new parts, I'll bring her in and we'll talk a little more about one of those parts. So let me switch my camera view. All right, so as I said, this is not really a traditional group. It's does not have a strong theme. It is more parts that are responses to customers' requests and or things that we've just had waiting in the wings that we've been wanting to bring out. So um, I'll start with these little heart-shaped leaf charms that they're one of those things that we're just kind of waiting in the wings for a long time. We've had this little heart button, I'm sorry, leaf button for a long time that came out with a button group a few years ago. And at the time, Alan created this beautiful little leaf shaped charm. And we just didn't fit it into another launch. So this was the perfect time, it being fall, and it's just a perfect little darling charm. And the pumpkins, now that's something that was requested by a customer a year or so ago. So we created the special order for this customer, and then we decided to offer a limited run to the rest of our customers. And it was so popular that this year we decided again, because we were doing this in the fall, it was the perfect time to add these to our line. So we've got that in silver and gold. So I guess this is sort of also fall themed for us. This is our what we're calling our gold rush charm. And it's been available for some time, but again, not something we worked into a launch. And it kind of fits the fall theme because not only do we have fall as a season here now in California, we have fire season. And this part has been super popular with jewelry designers who have created jewelry to sell to raise funds for wildfire recovery. So it's been an incredibly popular part, sort of for a sad reason, but really it's a beautiful charm, and we're really happy to be able to add it to the regular lineup. So something else that has been in our lineup for a long time is our angel wing. Now we only had it in I forget now if it's the left or the right. It can be confusing. We had the left, and we wanted to add a matching right angel wing. They are slightly different. They're a little bit concave on one side. Bring out that that second side so that we could so that you could do pairs, of course, because angel wings come in pairs. So, and also we're also selling these now. You can buy them if you're a wholesale customer, of course. We're selling them as bags of the same type in a bag or as sets of pairs. So that's kind of exciting. All right, so this little section down here, they do have a little bit of a common theme, which is kind of a spiritual bent. Here's our mandala button. This is brand new and something that Kirsten has been working on. She's our product development manager, and she came up with this gorgeous buttons. She's a big fan of buttons as bracelet closures, so she was real excited to bring that one out with this group. This little lotus spacer is kind of one of my favorites. It's just got a nice little lotus flower on both sides, and it's about 7 millimeters in diameter. So it's just a lovely little accent for jewelry design. Our Buddha pendant, we've had the little Buddha charm in the line for a while, but this configuration was something that was one of Alan's babies. He just loved the pendant idea with the circle around it. So we brought it out with this group. It comes in silver and gold and brass. And then something else that Alan, I think, was the one who was developing was this little teardrop charm with the lotuses down in the bottom. So again, kind of fits in with the spiritual theme, and we're excited to put that one in the lineup. So our last little component is this stitch-in connector. Now, we didn't come up with this on our own, and this is where I'm going to bring Danielle in. You guys might be familiar with Danielle Wickes. She is, I'm also going to switch my camera, so bear with me for a moment. Danielle is a designer that we have been kind of working with on and on for a couple of years now. She's helped us with a lot of development of our stitch-in components, and we came out with our stitch-in components a couple of years back. The first ones came out in our finishing touches launch, and Danielle was really key for the developing and the testing of those parts. So I am happy to have her as a special guest for us today, because she's going to tell us all about this new little part and how it came about. So welcome, Danielle. Thank you for joining.
Thank you. Thanks so much. It was just a really fun. First of all, I never said thank you for the awesome opportunity to work on the Joy beaded caps, which was my first project with you guys.
Oh, right. Yeah.
And so that was so fun. And then I got to play with the stitch-ins, and then once I had Alan's ear, I started sharing all these ideas, and you guys were super patient with all of my crazy ideas, which is amazing.
Oh, you guys were like a dynamic duo. There was so many ideas percolating for a while. So tell us specifically about the stitch-in connector.
So the stitch-in connector was originally started as I asked for a button with a seed bead on it, so the button itself could be stitched in to the actual bracelet. And then Alan said, well, what about the end bars? And so he grabbed those 3-hole end bars and had me test them in a loom design.
Right. But they're kind of big and bulky.
And then he did and made them into exact shaped seed beads.
So. Right. So how many prototypes do you think you guys went through?
Let's see. We actually tested the end bars first, and then I think there was a version before the final version, but really just 2 versions from the end bar.
Yay! So it came about pretty quick. I'm going to switch my camera view again because I want to remind people about some of the previous stitch-in components. So what Danielle was talking about was some of these, like when we did the finishing touches launch, we came out with this Oasis stitch-in link that's two-sided, and is really, all of these were developed to work with seed beads, but we also like to play, of course, with other techniques. So we did some nice stringing patterns, projects with some of those. But initially, the stitch-ins were this Oasis and this magnetic clasp. And then later we added this hammer tone version, which is just slightly wider, but is the same specs in terms of the loops and the space between the loops for working into bead weaving designs. And so the little stitch-in connector is quite a bit smaller, and it really is designed to be worked right into a seed bead pattern. So I have, and I know Danielle has too, I have a selection of designs, all by Danielle. Danielle has sent these samples to us, where she's used the stitch-in connector with cylinder beads. And Danielle, is this a loomed design?
That's a loomed piece, yep.
Okay, and then this one is also loomed. And again, she used it for to add the button onto one end, and then to create a button loop on the other end. And then she also used it to add a charm on this one. And how about this one, Danielle? Is this one?
That is square stitch.
Square stitch. Oh, so the difference between these two is in the loomed one, these stitch-ins kind of worked into the pattern horizontally. And then with this one, or maybe that would be considered vertically, I'm not sure. But this one, it's worked in the other way. But I guess with square stitch, it could be either, right?
Yeah, you can orient it however your design calls out for.
Yeah, and you also used it in the center here to attach just a little collection of charms, which is really sweet. I love that. And then at this end, you've got the button attached. This one is peyote, right?
Yep, that is an even count peyote design.
Which is so great. Now with the even count, the stitch-in ends up being off center, but with a pattern like this where it's just random colors, that is not I don't think that's a drawback at all. It still looks great. And then with odd count peyote, it would be centered, right?
Correct, yeah.
Yeah. And then this, oh, I've got another one on my wrist, which I have hardly taken off since you sent it. I love this one. This is an odd count herringbone, and this one is an even count herringbone.
Yep.
Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So now I know that you've also got some fabulous samples to show us. Is that right?
I'm going to switch my camera. And so here's a few. It's going to go into focus soon, I think.
Yeah, and let me see if I can get you to where you're the.
There it is. It looks like the camera focused perfectly there.
Okay.
That's a really good image. Yeah, so here in front of me, I have a loom design. And in this loom design, what I was going for.
I lost you for a second there, Danielle. I'm trying to get it so it'll just focus on your screen, but it's not doing that. So carry on. Sorry.
Oh, no worries. So this is the loom piece that I thought of putting two connectors so that you could have a magnetic clasp and it would just snap right together.
Uh-huh.
And one of the cool things about it is you can have a seamless closure.
Oh, I see.
So connected.
Oh, yeah. Very cool.
And in loom designs, that was something that I had long sought after for, a way to make them just go all the way around the wrist.
Right, without having a big gap for the closure.
Exactly, yeah. So that was just a really fun project. And let's see, going to herringbone after that. This is an odd count herringbone.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's beautiful.
And it just enables the closure to fit perfectly. So this is another one where they line up.
Okay, so like with the peyote, if you're working with an odd count, then that the stitch in will work right into the center of the design, right?
Exactly, yeah. So with an odd count stitch, you can get a
Right.
center point, but if it were like the design that you have there in the red, green, and yellow,
Yeah, this one.
put them to the side.
Right. So
Even
you
count.
use two. That was a brilliant solution. I love that.
Thanks. And then so peyote stitch, and I really love this stitching for peyote because peyote for me was one of the more challenging things to put a closure on.
Uh-huh.
And so I have three versions of a design here. This is an
Hmm.
even count, and I used just a row at the top to make the even count work.
Gotcha.
You don't even notice that it's not perfectly centered, but it
Hmm.
doesn't really need to be.
Right. And you could, I mean, if you were going to get creative with your pattern, you could like kind of alternate the sides, although that would make the pattern a little challenging. I was thinking almost like a
Oh,
brick pattern down the sides where you switch the side of the extra row.
I'm gonna need to try that now. I love that.
Oh, yeah, I have to be careful suggesting things to you because you get very inspired very quickly.
I'll go do it.
Yeah, yes, you will.
So true. Oh, this design is another example of why it's so cool to have the stitch in. It's a little further back, so if you were to add your button to the end, it,
Uh-huh.
or you'd have to try to stitch it through beads to the top, which is more difficult to do. But with
Hmm.
this design, it again the beads meet around the wrist, so
Nice, nice. So what
gaps.
did you had a term for that earlier on about it just meeting
I
in the
think I was calling
center.
it seamless,
Oh,
like
seamless,
a
yes.
slick seamless.
Perfect.
But you can do that so many ways with a loop or
Mm-hmm.
uh, like leather.
Mm-hmm.
Sky's the limit.
I like that. That's great.
So that was a fun one. And then I was looking for a way to make it centered and still avoid odd count.
Uh-huh.
And so I made this one, which is actually two peyote pieces
Uh-huh.
stitched together in the center.
Oh, how fun.
The buttonhole,
Uh-huh.
and there's the stitching, and it's
Oh,
perfect.
got you. Oh,
And
nice.
that's a fast make because it's just two even count pieces.
Mm-hmm. And you just made a buttonhole right between them.
Yeah,
Perfect.
that was lots of fun. And then I got a moment of inspiration for an odd count. So this one is an odd count, and you can see where it's just brilliant. It fits perfectly.
Hmm.
This is the oxidized brass color, and it blends in with this.
Really nice with those bead colors.
Yeah, couldn't
Nice.
resist this one.
Cool. So, we talked about you doing a demo for us. Will you do a demo?
Yep. So I have samples for start with a peyote, if that sounds good. So here's a peyote sample. I started it earlier. It is odd count.
That's not what I want. Sorry, still trying to figure out if I can get your screen to show up big, and it will not let me do it. So,
I'm
carry on.
how clear it is. It's really very clear.
Nice.
It looks clear to me on my screen. So and I'm gonna need to get my beads here.
All right, and tell us again because I was distracted with trying to manipulate the video. What technique? What are you working with?
Oh, this is an odd count peyote stitch.
Uh-huh.
And all I've done so far, shown here in this sample, is I've created 3 rows.
Uh-huh.
So those first 2 rows and then 1 additional row.
Uh-huh.
And I like to add, so with odd count, I found the lineup for me was kind of perfect if I add it starting in the 4th row.
Okay.
That's optional. It just means that you'll have 2 beads. It might be easier to see on this version, but it means you'll have 2 beads at the bottom.
Okay. That makes sense.
So it's just strong.
Mm-hmm.
And the ability to add this is so fast and it's so easy. It just stitches in. I consider them just like a bead, really, when I'm working with them.
Mm-hmm.
And so what I'm doing here is getting to the center. And I'm trying to figure out which one is the center here.
I remember when we were talking about different stitches that this was working with, you did say with peyote, it was a challenge to remember which was the down and which was the up.
Yes, yeah, exactly. And what I discovered with using the stitching in peyote is in one pass, it's going to be the bead you add.
Uh-huh.
And then on the pass back, it becomes the up bead.
Gotcha.
And so just keeping track of that and remembering that was my bigger challenge.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm just making my turn here. There you go. All right, and so this is the row where I'm going to add the stitch in.
Okay.
Sorry, there. Go. I'm not sure what I did there. Oops.
There's always a whoops in seed beading for me.
There always
many whoops.
many of them.
Yeah.
My challenge with odd count is getting that side to line up.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a perfectionist, and so I get hung up on stuff like that. So there we go. All right, so now I've got a center point. So the stitchings have 3 holes.
Right.
You'll want to make sure it's heading in that direction.
Okay.
And so I go through the first one, treating it just like I was adding another size 8 seed bead.
Mm-hmm.
And then going through the next one. And now I'm just going to finish the row as normal.
Okay.
Okay, one more to go here. Okay, and so I'm going to bring a new bead in.
Okay.
It needs to go through my up bead, which is that first hole of the stitch in.
Oh, right. Okay. So this is where it got tricky, right?
Exactly. Okay. Yeah, and it's intuitive, but I just have to remember.
Right.
It's a test in presence, I think.
There you go. I like that phrase, a test in presence. And once you've done it a couple times, then I'm sure it's easier.
Yeah, exactly. It gets much easier. And then once you've used these, you'll never want to go back to not using them. It's something that makes just the finishing so much easier.
Mm-hmm.
And so I added my last bead here, and I'm going to do a quick little turn. There's lots of different turn styles. I learned this from a really great book by Melinda Barta.
Oh, I love Melinda.
Mastering Peyote Stitch.
Mm-hmm.
I just got the book, and I read it cover to cover. And it was a game changer for my peyote stitch skills.
Cool. I think I might have a copy of that one. I'll have to go fish in the library.
And I hope I'm doing it correctly, but the trick is to turn using the thread bridge on the side to do your odd count turn.
Okay. I'll look that up.
It was this aha moment for me when I saw it.
Okay.
There it goes.
So in case anyone missed that, that was Melinda Barta's Mastering Peyote Stitch?
That's the one, yeah. Okay, and so now I'm back to the stitching.
Okay.
It's going to become my new bead. The center, it's going to become the new one. So it's just like I just added a bead, and I go through my up bead, which is this one. And so it usually with peyote stitch, it's so obvious which one is the up bead and which isn't. So that's the only thing, is just have to pay attention to that little.
Oh, that's better. Can bring you in a little closer.
Oh, good. Oh, yeah, that's cool. There we go. Okay, now I'm almost done. Just got one more connection to go here. But you can see these multiple passes through.
Mm-hmm.
Make this connection very strong. And each time we've gone through each of the stitching holes twice by the time we're done.
So it's not going anywhere.
Yeah, and it doesn't pull up. Like when you've got a button on it, it doesn't pull out of place.
Wonderful.
And so now this is my up bead again.
Mm-hmm.
So the center hole is now the up bead. So
okay.
Go through it, new bead, do the next up bead.
I have to admit, it's sort of my job. When we have parts, I'm the one that's usually working with them and, working with different techniques. And I've just been relying on you for this. So I have not even played with that part yet. It feels kind of terrible to admit that.
Oh no, I'm really happy to be able to help, and I've also been inspired by your designs for a very long time. I've been loving all of the stuff that you create.
Oh, thanks. I will have to eventually start making something with this stuff.
It's addicting. That's the one warning I would offer is
Sweet.
Stitching all day.
So now it's completely in there. You'll go through that last.
Yep.
When you complete this row and you do your next one, you'll go through that last stitch in loop one more time, right?
Yep. I just went through the third one,
Mm-hmm.
and now I'm finishing up this row. And when I add my new beads going back the other way, it will be the up bead one last time.
Right.
And then after that, it's just regular rows. And then the only trick is, so when you get to the end of your bracelet,
mm-hmm.
what you'll want to do is when you get to within about 10 rows of where you're going to end, start adding a stitch in there. And you can, if you add it at the 10th row, you'll have another 2 beads.
Okay.
At the end. So it'll be symmetrical.
Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, fabulous.
So I can go another row. I can switch my camera. What do you guys think?
Well, you did say that if we had time, and I think we do, because we've only been on for half an hour, that maybe you could demo Herringbone too.
I've got that right here.
Excellent.
So Herringbone piece, I've got one that's going to look like this one.
I'm going to pull back the camera shot so people can see that a little better. Will you put that one back out, Danielle?
Oh, yes, yeah.
I had John close up. Oh, that's gorgeous. Oh, so in this one, you're using it to attach a toggle clasp instead of a button.
Yeah, I'm putting a toggle in the center. It replaces the 3 beads in the center here.
Okay, gotcha. And this also will be interesting for us because you're positioning it the opposite direction.
Yes.
Whereas in the peyote, the stitch-in was in line with the bracelet, and with this one, it's going to be kind of crossways.
Exactly, yeah.
Cool.
And I'm going to grab another stitch in here. I've got one more. Okay. And so this one is, I'm going to find my needle. I had a needle already on there. Okay, great. This is, again, odd count herringbone stitch. It's got 11. I believe I put, it's 11 on there.
Okay.
Let me get some beads out. And you can use any colors. I like to do the stripy pattern because it helps me remember where my center is. Start moving fast and not really looking at it all the time. Okay, and the last color here. All right. So I'm going to add it to the next row, this row.
Okay. So
start building as normal. And all I've done here so far is just ladder stitch with stacks of 2 beads.
Okay.
So coming up through this one.
This is fun to see because, I do seed bead work, but I'm not by any means familiar with all the stitches, and herringbone is one that I've done very little of. So it's always nice to see a demo that reminds you that it's not that hard. If I would just work with it a little more, it would become easier because they're pretty simple stitches.
Oh, they are. And they're also, for these times, they're super meditative and calming for me.
For these times, yeah.
Yeah. I always appreciate anything that can keep my fingers busy and keep my hands.
And your mind less busy?
Yeah, because if I have to count or pay attention at least a little bit to something, then so it has a calming feature to it.
Nice.
But I went through the first hole of the stitch-in.
Okay.
So I'm treating it like a size 8 seed bead. I'm going to go through the center hole.
Okay.
And after that, I'm just going through both of the beads below.
Okay.
And I'm going to turn and come back up through those beads and the last hole of the stitch in.
Okay.
Okay. And so now I just need one more size 8. So this is kind of like another column.
Mm-hmm.
And my first size 8 is the third position of the stitch in, and then I added another bead here.
Okay.
All right.
Is this particular palette you're working with right now? Is it a bead mix?
I made this bead mix from 4 tubes of the John Bead Check Glass seed beads.
Okay.
A barley color and
Okay.
yeah. So
I wonder because I think you've said that you use sometimes you buy seed bead mixes too. Yeah.
I can't resist a bead mix. My favorite designer, Kate Richburg. She makes.
Oh yeah.
I used one of her mixes on one of the samples that you have. It's the color confetti colored one. I think it was their summer vibes or summer. Oh, it was called something.
Was it the herringbone one or the peyote one?
The peyote that looked like confetti.
Oh yes. Okay.
It just was very happy. Fun. I loved that one.
That one was pretty fun. Let me just remind everybody. Find my camera.
Yeah. So
I love that.
Those are Kate colors. Okay, and so just what I've done here is I've picked up 2.
Okay.
So 2 size 8s, and this is the odd count herringbone turn.
Okay.
So I have to kind of snuggle them up against the former stack there.
Okay.
Now to make that turn, just come back through that first 8 that you picked up. And my thread is caught on one of my tubes. There we go. Okay. And I'm going to tighten that down. And it's going to look wonky for now. Don't worry about that. When you
It'll straighten out.
Yeah, when you come back with the next pass, you'll pick up this bead.
Mm-hmm.
We'll turn and sit sideways, just like all the rest of the herringbone ones do.
Okay.
So
do you have a favorite herringbone stitch book?
Yeah, it's actually the other book by Melinda Barta. Both of those. And also there's a book by Carol Cyber.
Yes, Cipher, Carol?
Cipher, yeah. I've never heard her name said. I've only read it, so I'm kind of missed. But that was one of the first books I ever got.
Is that Mastering Beadwork? I think I have that.
Yes, yeah, and I called on that heavily when I was working with the beaded joy caps.
Okay, good to know.
Yeah, there was a lot of inspiration in there.
Mm-hmm. I have a lot of gratitude for the designers out there who have written it down and have published books.
Same, yeah. That's the only way I had to learn.
Mm-hmm.
It was kind of hard to get out and go to classes.
Mm-hmm. Right, with a couple of little ones. So now you're back to where you're stitching. You're reinforcing the stitching component.
Yeah.
Or using it as your seed beads.
I am. Yeah, I'm coming back through it. So in each of these is a column.
Mm-hmm.
So here's my third column.
Okay.
And add the fourth column. And you can go through all the beads if you want to, or you can just go through one. Since this was my ladder row, it feels easier to go through all 3.
Okay, gotcha.
It's not mandatory. You can
Mm-hmm.
just one if you'd like. And that's it in a nutshell. Just finishing the rest of your rows.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a normal piece.
Mm-hmm. And you just keep going.
Yeah, and then when you get to the end, all you'd want to do is add, find the piece here, add the stitch in your third to last row.
Gotcha. Beautiful. Now, you did write us instructions for the one that I'm wearing, and I just succeeded in getting that loaded onto the website, the TierraCast's website. So we have this bracelet. This is the Lavender Garden loomed bracelet. There we go. So that was the one we photographed when we did our product launch. And so that one is on our website with instructions and a downloadable PDF. And that's a loomed pattern. And this part is super easy to work in on a loom. So we do have that project on the website. And then this one is exactly, oops, I'm having a hard time getting it centered in front of the camera. This one is the same as what you were just demonstrating, is the odd count herringbone. And I just got that loaded onto the website yesterday. So it doesn't have a downloadable PDF ready yet, but it will within the next week or so. So I'm excited about that. Both of those projects, Looming and Herringbone, are available on our website for people to download instructions for. And I'll have to work on getting a Peyote one in there too. So thank you, Danielle. I am so happy you were able to join us today and to demo the part for us a little bit, because we are so excited about it. We think it was a brilliant idea on your part, and we're so grateful that you came to us and said, hey, since we're doing all this stitch-in stuff, what do you think of this idea? And it inspired Alan, and that's always a fun thing to see. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay. I think that's all we had to cover. There is, let's see, what can I do here? Pull this back out a little bit. There's a blog post on our website that talks about this product launch, the fall 2020 edition. So you can go to our blog on our website, and it pretty much covers what we talked about here, but in case you want to read it. And then there's also a blog post about stitch-in specifically, and that's a great one to look at too if you're curious about these stitch-in components that we designed to work with seed bead patterns. So I think that's all we have for you. Thank you so much, Danielle, and thank you to everyone else who joined us. It was really fun. It's good to see everyone.
Bye.
Bye.